Be me. 34. 2 years post-divorce, living in a decent 2-bedroom downtown with my son Scott. Raised him to question everything, to see people as equals, to understand that relationships are about genuine connection, not societal checkboxes. Always been upfront with him about how the world works. Age appropriately, of course. Taught him that some families have 2 moms, some have 2 dads, some have 1 parent, some have grandparents raising kids. Explained divorce to him as, sometimes people grow in different directions and that's okay. He seemed to get it, nodded solemnly, asked if he did something wrong. Broke my heart, but we worked through it. His dad and I co-parent decently enough, every other weekend and Wednesdays. Anyway, after the divorce I made a decision. Wasn't going to fall into the trap of desperately seeking another husband like I was incomplete without one. My mother did that, married 3 times, each one supposedly the one. Watched her shrink herself, adjust her opinions, pretend to like golf and fishing and whatever hobby the current husband had. Told myself I'd be different. I'd date honestly, openly, without pretending these were auditions for lifetime partnership. Meet someone, enjoy their company, see where it goes, move on when it stops working. No forcing something that isn't there just because society says a woman my age should be settling down again. Started seeing Daniel about 6 months after the divorce was final. Met him at a work thing, he was opposing counsel. We grabbed drinks after a settlement conference. Nice enough guy, worked in tax law, had this laugh that was genuinely infectious. Saw him for maybe 5 weeks, brought him by the apartment a few times. He'd play video games with Scott, seemed chill. But then he started doing this thing where he'd text me every hour asking what I was up to. Not in a sweet way, in a I need constant validation way. And he kept talking about his ex-wife in this bitter tone that made me realize he hadn't actually processed that divorce at all. So I ended it. Clean break, no hard feelings. Then there was Paul, met him at my gym. He lasted about 6 weeks. Ended because he kept pushing for me to meet his parents. Dude, we've been seeing each other for a month and a half. I'm not doing the parent meet cute. That's the kind of relationship escalator bullshit I was actively trying to avoid. After Paul came Scott, different Scott. I called him Mark to avoid confusion. He was around for 3 months actually, longest one. Worked in software, had interesting thoughts about AI ethics, good in bed. But he wanted me to come to his company retreat, meet his co-workers, integrate into his life. Started feeling like he was trying to wife me up without actually asking. So that ended too. Then James, then Robert, then this guy whose name I honestly can't remember because we only saw each other twice before I realized he was boring as heck. Currently seeing someone named Alex. Throughout all this, I've been honest with Scott. When he asks, "Is that your boyfriend?" I say, "Yes, we're dating." When he asks, "Do you love him?" I say, "I like spending time with him." Taught him that love is a big word and you shouldn't use it unless you mean it. Thought I was modeling healthy relationship behavior honestly, showing him that you can enjoy someone's company without pretending they're your soulmate. That women don't need to be partnered to be complete. That casual dating is a valid choice. So it's a random Tuesday evening, I just got home from the office around 7. Scott is finishing homework at the kitchen table. I'm unpacking Thai takeout because forget cooking tonight. Alex is supposed to come over around 8, probably spend the night. Scott has met him twice now, once last week and once over the weekend. I'm plating pad thai when Scott looks up from his math worksheet. "Mom, why do you have a different boyfriend every month?" Freeze mid-scoop. He's not asking it meanly, just genuinely curious. The way he asks why the sky is blue or how planes fly. And why do they all come here, like to our apartment? Sit down across from him, slowly. Brain immediately goes into lawyer mode, analyzing the question, looking for the angle. But this isn't a deposition, this is my kid. "Well, honey, I date different people because I'm figuring out what kind of person I connect with best." He nods, seems to accept this, then hits me with the follow-up. "But you always tell me I need to work on my friendships. Like when I didn't want to hang out with Tyler anymore because he was annoying, you said I should try harder and be a good friend." "Oh no." "And you said people who are real friends stick together even when it's hard sometimes." Double no. "So why don't you stick with your boyfriends even when it's hard?" Sit there for a solid 10 seconds with my mouth slightly open like an idiot. The pad thai is getting cold. I can hear the upstairs neighbor's TV through the ceiling. Scott is looking at me with these huge brown eyes, just waiting for an explanation. Because I've always told him I'll answer his questions honestly. It's been a whole thing, me being the mom who doesn't lie to her kid. When he asked where babies come from, I gave him the age-appropriate scientific explanation. When he asked about divorce, I told him the truth about people changing. When he asked why his friend Emma has 2 moms, I explained that love looks different for different people. And now here he is, asking me a completely logical question, and every answer I can think of makes me sound like a complete hypocrite. Sweetie, adult relationships are different from friendships. Even as I say it, I know it's weak. He tilts his head. But you said friendship is just another kind of relationship. You said all relationships need work and honesty and commitment. He remembered the exact words I used when he was having trouble with his best friend last year. You said commitment means showing up even when you don't feel like it. Want to die. Literally want the floor to open up and swallow me whole. That's true, but romantic relationships have different parameters than, stop myself because I'm literally using lawyer speak with my 8-year-old. He's still waiting. Okay, so the thing is, honey, I'm not looking for a serious relationship right now. I'm just enjoying getting to know different people. But why do they have to come here? Valid question, actually. Where else would they? I mean, this is where I live, sweetie. But this is where we live. Emphasis on the we. Not said angrily, just stated as fact. And you always say our home should be stable and safe and that I should feel comfortable here. Goodness, when did my kid become a philosopher? And I do feel comfortable, but also sometimes I don't know who's going to be here and if I should talk to them or if they're going to be around next week. Something in my chest twists painfully. Like, Mark used to help me with my Lego sets, and then he just wasn't here anymore. And when I asked, you said you weren't seeing him anymore. But you didn't seem sad about it. He's not wrong. I wasn't sad about Mark leaving. It had run its course, we wanted different things. I moved on. No big emotional drama, just a clean ending. Thought that was healthy, actually. Better than forcing something that wasn't working. I wasn't sad because it was a mutual decision, but if he was your friend, wouldn't you be sad? Oh no. When Tyler moved away, I cried for like 2 days, and you said that's normal because we were close. So doesn't that mean you weren't close with Mark? Then why was he here all the time? My brain is short-circuiting. I'm a litigation attorney, I argue for a living, I can defend complex corporate structures to hostile juries, and I'm getting destroyed by an 8-year-old's logic. Scott, listen, adult romantic relationships involve... There's a physical component that abort, not going there. What physical component? Nothing. Never mind. Different conversation for when you're older. He shrugs, goes back to his original question. So why don't you try harder with your boyfriends? Like you tell me to try harder with my friends. Feel something building in my chest. Some mix of defensiveness and shame and anger. Anger at what though? At him for asking? He's a kid asking a reasonable question. At myself? For what exactly? Take a breath, try to center myself. Okay, Scott, here's the thing. Women, for a very long time, were expected to get married and stay married no matter what, even if they were unhappy, even if the relationship wasn't working. He's listening. I can tell he's trying to understand. And now, women have more freedom to choose how we want to live our lives. We don't have to get married if we don't want to. We can date people without it being serious. We can explore what we want in a partner. So you're exploring? Yes, exactly. For 2 years? Little guy has a point. Well, yes, because it takes time to figure out what you want. But you told me I need to stick with soccer, even though I said I wasn't sure I liked it, because you said I need to commit to things long enough to really know. I did say that. Like 3 months ago, when he wanted to quit soccer after 2 practices. You said I should finish the season before deciding. Soccer is different. How? How's soccer different from serial dating? Excellent question, son. Try another angle. Look, the men I date, I'm honest with them about what I want. We're both adults making adult choices. You and your friends are kids learning how to navigate relationships. So when I'm an adult, I don't have to try hard at relationships? No, that's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Literally, do not know anymore. Sit there in silence for what feels like an hour, but is probably 30 seconds. Scott goes back to his math homework like this conversation is totally normal. Just decimated his mother's entire philosophical framework, and now he's doing long division. My phone buzzes. It's Alex saying he's leaving his place. We'll be here in 20. Look at my son bent over his homework. Remember Mark teaching him how to build that complicated Lego architecture set. Remember James playing catch with him in the park. Remember Paul making him pancakes on a Saturday morning. Remember Scott asking me, is Paul going to be my new dad? And me carefully explaining that, no, Paul is just someone Mommy is spending time with. The look on his face, trying to understand. All these men rotating through, nice enough guys, present enough in the moment, and then just gone. While I told Scott he needed to work on his friendship with Tyler, needed to be patient with Emma even when she was bossy, needed to show up for his soccer team even when practice was boring, commitment, effort, working through difficulties, all the things I've been actively avoiding in my own life. But that's different, right? I'm modeling independence, showing him that women don't need men to complete them, that relationships should be chosen freely, not out of obligation, that you can walk away from something that isn't serving you. So why does it feel like he just exposed something rotten? Try again. Scott, the thing is, I believe that people, especially women, should be free to make choices about their personal lives without being judged. For a long time, women who dated multiple people were seen as bad, while men who did the same thing were seen as normal. He looks up. So you're dating lots of people because you want it to be normal? No, I'm dating lots of people because that's what I want to do, because I can, because I don't have to settle down if I don't want to. Do you not want to? Pause. Not right now, no. Why not? Because I like my freedom. I like not having to compromise or adjust my life for someone else. I like being able to make my own choices. But you compromise for me. Didn't expect that. You adjust your life for me all the time. You just said you wanted to work late tonight, but you came home because it's not Dad's day. He's right. I did say that. Half complaint, half explanation when I walked in. That's different. You're my son. So you compromise for people you're committed to? This kid. Yes. But you're not committed to your boyfriends? No. So they're not important enough to compromise for? It's not about importance. It's about the type of relationship. But if they're not important, why are they here all the time? Valid question, no good answer. Because the truth is what? They're important enough to sleep with, but not important enough to actually integrate into my life meaningfully. They're important enough to introduce to my son, but not important enough to work through difficulties with. They're important enough to occupy my time and attention and emotional energy, but not important enough to commit to. Feel my face getting hot. Scott, I think you're too young to fully understand the nuances of adult romantic relationships. The second it comes out of my mouth, I know I've messed up. His face does this thing, this shutting down thing. Okay. Goes back to his homework. That's it. Just okay. Which is somehow worse than if he'd argued, because I've always told him he's not too young to understand things. I've always explained, always been honest, always treated him like he could handle the truth. And the first time he asked me a question I don't want to answer, I pull the "you're too young" card. The card I've always said I'd never use. The card my mother used on me constantly, and I resented, sit there feeling like the worst parent on earth. Alex texts again, asking if he should bring wine. Look at my phone, look at my son, look at the cold Thai food. Think about Alex coming over, staying the night, being gone in a few weeks when I get tired of his habit of leaving cabinets open, or his opinions on something, or just the general weight of another person's expectations. Think about Scott meeting him, maybe starting to like him, and then having to adjust to his absence. Again. For the 5th or 6th or 7th time. Scott, he looks up. You're asking really good questions, and I don't think I have good answers right now. His expression softens a little. I need to think about what you said, okay? Because you're right that I tell you one thing about relationships and friendships, and I'm doing something different in my own life. Okay. I'm not saying you're right that it's the same thing, because adult relationships really are different, but I hear what you're saying about consistency. He nods. Can I finish my homework? Yeah, sweetie, of course. He goes back to long division. I pick up my phone and stare at Alex's text, try to figure out what I'm doing. Because, here's the thing. Nobody talks about. Feminist theory is great on paper. Sexual liberation is great in concept. Yes, women should be free to date casually without shame. Yes, we should reject relationship structures that don't serve us. Yes, we should prioritize our own needs and desires. But also, I'm not just a woman exercising my sexual freedom. I'm a mother. And those two identities are crashing into each other in my kitchen over pad thai. Because I can justify my choices all I want through a feminist lens. I can talk about rejecting patriarchal expectations and refusing to let my worth be defined by my relationship status. I can cite every article about how women don't need to be partnered to be whole. But Scott isn't asking about feminist theory. He's asking why his mother tells him to invest in relationships while actively refusing to invest in her own. And the honest answer, the one I don't want to admit even to myself? Investing in relationships is scary. It means being vulnerable. It means someone could hurt you. It means compromise and sacrifice and the possibility of failure. And I've already failed once, with his dad. Already went through the whole thing of merging lives and building something and having it fall apart. Already did the therapy and the lawyers and the dividing of assets and the custody schedule. So yeah, maybe I've been using sexual liberation as an excuse to avoid actual intimacy. Maybe I've been calling it feminism when really it's just fear. Maybe I've been so focused on not being like my mother, desperately seeking validation through marriage, that I've overcorrected into the opposite extreme. Maybe I'm expecting my 8-year-old to be braver than I am, telling him to work through difficulties in his friendships while I bail at the first sign of effort required, teaching him about commitment while demonstrating its opposite. The thing is, I believe in what I've told him about relationships. I do think commitment matters. I do think working through difficulties is important. I do think stability and consistency and showing up matters. I just haven't been applying it to my own life. Because I've been calling it freedom when maybe it's just avoidance. Calling it independence when maybe it's just isolation. Calling it sexual liberation when maybe it's just emotional unavailability. Text Alex back. Actually, can we rain check? Something came up with Scott, sorry. He responds with a thumbs up and a no worries. Which kind of proves my point, actually. Neither of us is that invested. If I cancelled on someone I actually cared about, I'd feel worse about it. If he actually cared about me, he'd ask if everything is okay. But this is casual, this is easy, this is low stakes. Which is what I wanted, right? Scott finishes his homework and starts packing up his backpack for tomorrow. Is Alex coming over? No, not tonight. Okay. He doesn't seem disappointed or relieved, just neutral. Which maybe says something about how normalized this has become. The rotation of men, the casual nature of it all. He's adapted to it because that's what kids do. But should he have to? Later that night, after he's in bed, I pour myself a glass of wine and sit on the couch. Think about my marriage, why it ended. His dad wasn't a bad person. I wasn't a bad person. We just wanted different things. He wanted traditional partnership, someone to be a team player in his vision of life. I wanted autonomy, independence, room to breathe. Felt suffocated by the expectations, the constant negotiation, the weight of someone else's needs. So we ended it, and I thought, great, now I'm free. Free to live according to my actual values. Free to date without the pressure of it leading somewhere. Free to be a whole person outside of a relationship, and I have been free. But Scott's questions are making me realize that freedom without purpose is just drift. Autonomy without connection is just loneliness. Independence without vulnerability is just a different kind of cage. Not saying I need to get married again. Not saying casual dating is wrong. But maybe I need to examine whether I'm actually living my values or just running from intimacy. Whether I'm modeling healthy independence for my son or just teaching him that people are disposable. Whether my feminism is liberating me or just giving me intellectual cover for emotional cowardice. The worst part is I genuinely don't know. Is it hypocrisy to tell your kid to invest in relationships while keeping your own at arm's length? Or is it just acknowledging that kids need different things than adults? Is it wrong to bring different partners around my son? Or is it healthy to show him that dating is a normal part of adult life? Is my casual dating empowering? Or is it just another way of avoiding the hard work of actual intimacy? Think about calling my therapist, but it's 10 p.m. Think about calling my best friend, but I already know what she'll say. She's been gently suggesting that maybe I'm using feminism as a shield for the past year. I've been dismissing it as internalized misogyny. But maybe she has a point. Maybe I've been so eager to prove I don't need a man that I've closed myself off to actually wanting one. Maybe I've been so focused on not repeating my mother's mistakes that I'm making different mistakes. Maybe the revolution isn't in rejecting commitment, but in choosing it freely, on your own terms, when it's actually right. Sit there on the couch until the wine is gone and I'm no closer to answers. But at least I'm asking the questions now. At least Scott made me look at the gap between what I preach and what I practice. Whether I want to admit it or not, the kid outsmarted me, saw through my rationalizations to the core contradiction, and he did it with complete innocence, just asking honest questions. The questions I've been avoiding asking myself. Don't know what I'm going to do differently. Don't know if I'm ready to actually date. Seriously, or if I need to stop dating entirely for a while. Don't know how to reconcile my feminist beliefs with my parental responsibilities. Don't know how to explain to an 8-year-old that adults are just as confused as kids, we're just better at hiding it. But I do know that I can't keep doing what I've been doing. Can't keep telling Scott that relationships require work while treating mine as disposable. Can't keep bringing men through our home like they're interchangeable. Can't keep calling it liberation when it's starting to feel like running. Lie in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. Think about all the feminist theory I've read, all the arguments I've made about women's sexual freedom. Still believe in it, still think women should be free to date casually, without judgment. But maybe I've been using it as armor. Maybe true liberation isn't in rejecting commitment, but in having the freedom to choose it or not choose it without pressure either way. And maybe I haven't actually been free at all. Maybe I've just been reacting to my marriage, to my mother, to patriarchal expectations. Maybe I've been so busy defining myself in opposition to traditional relationship structures that I haven't figured out what I actually want. Scott's question keeps echoing. Why don't you try harder with your boyfriends? Simple question, devastating answer. Because trying is scary. Because effort implies investment. Because investment implies vulnerability. Because vulnerability implies the possibility of getting hurt. And I've been hurt enough. So I've been keeping it light, keeping it casual, keeping it safe. Calling it feminism. Calling it liberation. Calling it choice. When really it's just fear dressed up in political theory, and my 8-year-old saw through it in 30 seconds. Because kids are honest in a way adults forget how to be. They ask direct questions and expect direct answers. They see contradictions because they haven't learnt to rationalize them yet. They hold you accountable to your own stated values because they don't understand that adults are hypocrites. Scott believed me when I said relationships require work. Believed me when I said commitment matters. Believed me when I said you should try, even when it's hard. And then watched me do the opposite. And asked why. And I had no answer that didn't expose exactly what I've been avoiding, that I'm asking him to be brave in ways I'm not willing to be. That I'm teaching him values I'm not living, that I'm using feminism as an excuse for emotional cowardice. Fall asleep sometime after midnight. Wake up to Scott making cereal in the kitchen before school. He's cheerful, talking about a project due Friday. Doesn't bring up last night's conversation, because for him, it was just a question, just curiosity. He doesn't know he detonated a bomb in my worldview. Drive him to school, kiss his forehead, watch him run inside, sit in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes. Text Alex. Hey, I think we should talk. He calls immediately, probably knows what's coming. You're ending this. Yeah. Can I ask why? I'm not in the right headspace for dating right now. I need to figure some things out. Fair enough. You take care of yourself. And that's it. Clean break, no drama, exactly what I've been doing for 2 years. Except this time, it feels different. This time, it feels like maybe I'm not running toward liberation. Maybe I'm running from something else. And maybe my son just forced me to stop long enough to figure out what. Don't have answers yet. Don't know what comes next. But at least I'm asking the right questions now, even if it took an 8-year-old to make me see them.